All right, welcome Axonicom Live attendees, and thank you for joining me today for this breakout session. My name is Whitney Susanna, and I'm a Customer Success Director here at Axonify. And today I will be having a little fireside chat, without the fire, of course, with one of the customers that I'm working with, who happens to be Canada's largest restaurant company, and how they're driving cross-brand leader engagements. We're going to have a great conversation around that. And just before we get started, there is a live chat function. So make sure you're asking questions, entering comments, feedback into the live chat, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, so feel free to ask questions as we go. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest, Stephanie Roach, who's the Director of Training and Development at Recipe. Welcome, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Whitney.
No problem. So just, I guess, to kick things off and level set for everybody, maybe you could just tell us a bit about who Recipe is, and yeah, we'll start there.
Sounds good. So I'll start off by saying sometimes people don't know who Recipe Unlimited is. Formerly Cara Restaurants, Prime Restaurants, and some independent restaurants that have amalgamated over the last 5 to 6 years. We're Canada's oldest and largest full-service restaurant company. We have over 1,300 restaurants, primarily in Canada. We do have a small percentage internationally, which you'll see on the next slide, kind of all of our brands and who we represent. So I'm sure a lot of these are familiar to you. New York Fries, obviously international. We do have a few of our brands that are in the US, majority across Canada, as you can see here.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I'm sure some of these brands are more familiar with some of the Canadians we have on the call. So that's great. And so just to give everybody a bit of background, so Recipe and Axonify had started our partnership in 2019. And so we've been rolling out sort of brand by brand, and we have 9 brands that are on the platform today, and they're leveraging Axonify to train their frontline on lots of variety of different topics, from product knowledge to customer service, operational topics, as well as, of course, health and safety for personal as well as guest safety information as well. So, all right. So today, the main topic that we're going to chat through is this awesome team-based competition that Recipe had executed on. So planned and executed and just did a great job. So oftentimes we see our customers wanting to do fun things, and we're obviously encouraging them to do that and to run what we would call a team-based competition. So just driving some of that friendly competition within a team, or perhaps it's against stores or different user audiences. It can come in a wide variety of different things that you can do. So we'd work together and really put together a team-based competition to help drive, again, just that friendly competition, adoption, and engagement within the platform. So Steph, maybe you could share and just share with everybody sort of what your original goals were for this competition and for running a competition in general.
Yeah, I think our biggest piece, Whitney, was trying to ensure that we had the engagement and the adoption from the brand teams. And instead of going straight down to the restaurant levels and hitting them first, part of our strategy as we started rolling out Axonify was making sure we went from the top down. So I know there's a lot of partners and companies that you work with that do that already, and they start with the CEO and the presidents and kind of work their way down. And we've taken that same approach. Right. And so before getting into the restaurants, we just really wanted to make sure that the brand teams, and so the brand teams comprised of business development managers. So somebody might know area managers, district managers, that kind of group. The lead, so the COO of the brand, the VPs of the brand, the training leads of the brand. So getting them to really feel comfortable and familiar with how the platform actually works. And so awareness, engagement, and adoption were probably the key things for the goals. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and that's definitely one of the pillars that we always talk about too, to drive that engagement of really starting with the leaders and the people that are, responsible, I guess, in a way for the front line, making sure that they're bought in, they're engaged. So that's great. It worked really well, and it's a great strategy to start with.
Yeah.
You can talk a bit about how you started planning it and just how the competition in general was structured.
Well, we have to thank you and your team, Whitney, for that, because that was us getting into a room together with you guys and kind of throwing out some ideas. And so we came up with the battle of the brands as
Clever.
opposed to, I know, well, yeah, and it was good. And we knew that we have a lot of music aficionados within the brands too, as well. We knew that we wanted to keep this short but sweet.
Sure.
There's a lot going on, so a 6-week timeline was kind of where we wanted to go, with some great prizes and some different structure on that. At the time that we were running this, so March to April, we only had 4 of the brands on the platform at that point, so you can kind of see who these are. But it was really being able to work with you guys and kind of go back and forth about what would be our goal, how would we want to execute it, and how do we just make it fun, right? We're a restaurant
Yeah,
company. We're used to having fun, so that was easy.
for sure. And I think that 6-week period really worked well. It's not too long that people kind of fall off and get bored. So that sort of a sweet spot of what we would typically say to if you're running this type of competition. So that did work well. Okay, and then maybe tell us a bit. I know we have it here on the screen so people can see, but talk to us a bit just about the pricing and how that was structured and what type of buy-in you needed and budget to run this.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting because as soon as we got the theme down on the Battle of the Brands, it was easy enough to go, hey, Ticketmaster gift cards are fantastic and be used. And I guess this is the other thing. We had the 4 brands. You have different mix of people. So sometimes people don't always go out to eat a lot,
Right.
or there might be something else. And we wanted to get away from just doing kind of a Visa gift card, and how could we theme it? So the Ticketmaster was great because you can use it anywhere from sports events to music to whatever. That kind of worked out. Our strategy was to keeping them engaged, as we said, which is like any competition. So of course we had an overall grand prize that the team that won, which to note that they all needed to come up with their own brand team name, like rocker name. We had
Mm-hmm.
some great ones, so that was part of that. We also did weekly prizing, so you would get $100 keg gift card, which little inside secret into recipe, everybody always covets those because we always know the keg is kind of top priority and we like to go there and hang out, so that's always a great feature. And then we also did Hall of Famers, so you had an opportunity to be able to win points at any aspect during the competition. You didn't feel that you were left out of something, and everybody was at different levels based on how they completed their guided learning or
Right.
whether they were already into daily questions. So that structure allowed it to be flexible.
Yeah, which is great. I loved the variety and just the weekly prize
Mhm.
and prizing. It just gives everyone sort of a chance to win and just makes it more interesting. So that's great.
Whitney, sorry,
Yeah,
you had
go ahead.
asked a little bit about, kind of budget and structure
Yeah,
and kind of buy-in. We were lucky. It wasn't a huge budget that we needed to kind of spend on this. It was easy for us to kind of put that through, but the buy-in was easy enough. As soon as we talked about it and even kind of going to the president of the company and, hey, this is what we were doing. And obviously I had that in my budget. He was all over it. He loved to
right.
see the healthy competition. And I didn't need to talk twice about saying to another brand team, they're already in competition with each other, just on a general healthy competition about better sales and more
Of
stores
course.
open and did well at this. So that competition was not hard to challenge
Right.
them with.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, maybe give us a bit of detail just around, what the overall communication plan looked like. How did you communicate out about the winners and also just track that week over week through that 6-week period?
Yeah, we were really lucky to be able to use the platform, obviously, to pull the data. And so we tracked that weekly. And then the weekly winners, we imposed their faces on some rock star outfits to give it a little bit of fun and play to it. And I know, obviously, nobody knows who these people are, but I will tell you there was, if we didn't get out the communication early enough by Monday afternoon, people were wanting to see one, who had won, but just what crazy picture we were able to come up with and put it on there. And some of those pictures are CEOs of the brands, like leaders of the brands that just love, that's Axl Rose down in the corner there. And for sure, like that. We had to be thoughtful about the content as well that we were pushing out.
Sure.
So, we do have a lot of content in the platform for all the brands, for the frontline,
Frontline.
for sure, and restaurants, no problem. Where we have a gap is from kind of the leadership up, from a head office perspective. And so that's where we were able to we leveraged the content marketplace, which was great because it was easy for us to constantly put content in there every week. So to keep them refreshed and engaged. And we just did some fun facts trivia as well. So we would do stuff about food and beverage facts, because obviously the restaurant industry, that was kind of cool. What did they know about that sort of stuff? But again, just kind of keeping it weekly communication, emails, a tracker so that they could see where they were at. That was really it. And I also think giving them some different ways each week that how could they gain more points. So whether that was, challenging somebody, whether that was tell a friend, whatever it was using the components in the platform to be able to showcase.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I really love the idea of just having just general sort of trivia type information. That's actually, I was running a webinar a couple weeks ago, and that came up as well. So just having some more fun topics, different types of questions that can make it a bit more fun, especially for a shorter period of time, like something like this. So that's great. Very cool.
Well, I think we
go ahead.
try to say that the platform is like, it's all about teaching and learning, and it is, but you can also have fun with it. And so that's why when all of a sudden they were like, even reaching out to us going, I had no idea that, this was this and that was that. And they didn't feel like the stress of like, oh my goodness, I didn't get that question wrong. They were having fun with it, which is where we wanted it to be.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's great. That's really, I know, one of the main goals that you wanted from the beginning. So perfect. Mission accomplished. Okay, that's the fun pieces. Were there any unexpected challenges or issues that came up?
Well, I don't know if you happen to notice that date right there of when we started, when we ended was right at the beginning of COVID. So I would say that was probably a little bit of it. So it kind of, it had us put pause of, do we continue? Do we stop right now and then re-engage? And then we were like, no, this is fun. We want to continue to engage people. So let's push that out. So we continue to do that. And I think the only other maybe caveat would be, who would have thought that a Ticketmaster gift card would be something you could use right away? And so, but in talking to everybody, they were like, that's great. It gives us something to look forward to. And so that would be, I would say that was probably the only unexpected challenges that we really ran into.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's great. Not many concerts these days, that's for sure.
No.
Okay, great. So what were some of the results? So at the end of it, kind of taking a look over all of the competition, where did you guys net out?
Well, I think on the slide, you'll kind of see that we really had the brand leads engaged to help them better understand the platform so that they can support the front line. We had all of those brand teams 100% participation, which is really what we wanted, because we had them at some different levels of kind of, and I think it's like anything when you're in part of our industry and others like us, when you have so many platforms or tools or processes as a company that you roll out, you are asking this group of individuals at these brand teams to to understand all of this stuff and
Yeah.
know it inside and out. And so we just didn't want it to be forced upon them. We wanted them to feel like they felt it was worth it, and to be able to communicate that to their restaurants as they're engaging with them on a day-to-day basis. We definitely created buzz and fostered culture just by making it fun and a theme behind it. Yeah, and so I think we were really happy with all of the results that it was. And I think it got those that
Hmm.
maybe were a little bit within the brand teams not as engaged really in there, because they had their other team members pushing them so that they could get their points up and win a prize.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. So on all fronts, just kind of check
Mhm.
of your goals. Very cool. Any key lessons learned? I know there are, because it's on the next slide, so I will switch that. Maybe you can just share some of those.
Absolutely, I can. Competition works, bribery works, prizes work. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with us, and I think Whitney, when we were meeting with you, our team with yours, is, you know, keeping it simple
Yeah.
and easy. And we started that way, and then we started digging in deep and pulling some other stuff that we even stopped ourselves to go, okay, one, we don't want to make this administrative nightmare for everybody.
Hmm.
If you say you're going to communicate and you're going to do weekly reports and pull that up, you need to make it simple for everybody, but you also need to make it so that at any point can those teams go in and check for themselves where they sit and where they rank. And so that's why we did it. And so I would say definitely, for sure,
Hmm.
those were kind of our biggest pieces.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, that's great. So success all around. What's next? So I guess two-part question. One, do you plan on running future competitions? What might those look like? And two, is there other things outside of competitions that you're thinking of doing or in the works to help drive adoption within the brands, not just the brand leads, but also the front line?
Absolutely. We would definitely run a competition again. As you saw, there was those 4 brands. We're now up to 9 brands on the platform, close to
Mhm.
almost being 10. And I know that they heard a lot of buzz about this competition, so they've been asking about it. So absolutely, we'll run another kind of head office, call it, competition within these brand teams. But then we're leveraging the support and the contact that Axonify had pushed out during COVID about what are the other ways you can engage the team, and as businesses started to reopen, and what did that look like. So we've started to package those little pieces together to give to the brand so that they can push out themselves
Mhm.
different types of competitions. There's so many brands that we have. We don't want to, it would be a huge, over 800 restaurants to be able to try and pull and track that together. And it's more meaningful when it comes from the brand. They can also tie it into something that they have upcoming. So we're trying to pull those packages together for them. So Swiss Chalet has their festive season coming up, kind of
Yeah.
November into December. That's a perfect time to tie in something that way. They'll have their own budgets, they'll have their own drivers, they'll have
Right.
other elements that we can do, so we can support them in helping them to build out the reports and suggesting best practices, but then they can take it
Mhm.
away and move it. The other question that you
That's
asked
great.
about is, what are some other things that we're doing besides competition based? So all of our restaurants have metric scorecard for different platforms, for different measurements they have. So whether it's food cost, beverage cost, labor, guest scores that we're getting from different aggregator sites, all of those types of metrics are pulled into a scorecard. They're
Yeah.
done by the brand and then done by the restaurant. So we are, as of October, going to be launching participation rate and participation frequency within those restaurant scorecards. So that'll make a huge impact
Mhm.
for sure. As we all know, what gets measured gets done. And so I think that'll also
Yeah.
help to drive that.
Yeah, definitely making that sort of right alongside with all of the other metrics that they're looking at on a regular basis, and
Mhm.
yeah, having those front and center. So yeah, that's great. Very good. Okay, well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing with us your awesome team-based competition. That was great. I hope everyone enjoyed the breakout. I will say that we always have lots of You know, we have a lot of creative people within Axonify, and if you're looking to run a team-based competition yourself and need a bit of support, please don't hesitate to reach out to your customer success manager, and we can help brainstorm and of course have lots of variety of different resources available as well that you can leverage. So thanks so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Axonicom Live. Take care. I don't know how to stop.